The old Victorian house loomed over Lily, its shadow stretching towards her like a claw. A shiver ran down her spine. The town of Silent Hollow was aptly named. Deserted streets, wind whistling through broken windows. It was the picture of desolation. Lily pushed open the creaking iron gate. Dead leaves crunched under her feet. The air grew heavy, filled with a strange electricity. A sense of foreboding settled upon her. She was alone, utterly alone. The house stood 3 stories high, its paint peeling, windows boarded shut. A shiver ran down her spine again. The realtor had called it a fixer-upper. Lily saw it as an escape, a chance to start over. She just hadn't realized how isolated it would feel. As she unlocked the front door, a gust of wind slammed a shutter against the wall. Lily jumped. A cold draft swept into the house, carrying the scent of damp earth and something else. Something vaguely familiar and utterly unwelcome. The smell of decay. Days turned into weeks. Lily threw herself into the task of restoring the house. Each creaking floorboard, each echo in the empty rooms, served as a constant reminder of her solitude. She couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of being judged. At night the house came alive, settling noises echoed through the empty halls. Whispers seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. Lily tried to ignore them, but they pricked at the edge of her awareness. They were faint, almost indistinguishable, but undeniably there. One evening, as Lily sat by the fireplace, a log shifted, sending sparks flying into the room. A chill ran down her spine. She could have sworn she heard a voice. A whisper, soft and low, just at the edge of hearing, her name, Lily. Lily shook her head, attributing it to the wind whistling through the cracks. But deep down, a seed of unease had been planted. A shiver ran down her spine. She was no longer sure if she was alone in the house or if something else had joined her. One afternoon, while cleaning the attic, Lily stumbled upon an old, tarnished mirror. It was unusually heavy, its silver backing blackened with age. As she wiped away the dust, she noticed something strange. Her reflection remained, but it was different. Older, sadder, with an air of melancholic beauty. That night, Lily couldn't shake the image of the altered reflection from her mind. She lay in bed, listening to the house creak and groan around her. Just as she was about to drift off, she saw it again. A fleeting movement in the reflection of her window. A shadow, darker than the night, gone as quickly as it had appeared. Sleep evaded Lily that night. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of leaves outside her window sent her heart racing. She felt a presence in the house with her, something unseen, lurking just beyond the veil of perception, watching, waiting. As dawn broke, Lily tried to rationalize her fear. It was just the wind, she told herself, just the old house settling. But deep down, she knew that something was amiss. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. Lily had been avoiding the basement. The heavy wooden door, swollen with dampness, seemed to resist her every attempt to open it. But the whispers, the fleeting shadows, they all seemed to originate from below. She knew she had to face her fears. With a deep breath, Lily finally managed to pry open the basement door. A musty, earthy smell wafted up, making her wrinkle her nose. The air was thick with moisture, the only light filtering in through cracks in the boarded-up windows. Cobwebs hung from every corner, and the silence was thick and heavy. As Lily descended the creaking wooden stairs, each step seemed to echo her growing unease. The air grew colder, the darkness more oppressive. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest. What was she doing, venturing into this dark and forgotten place? The basement was a labyrinth of shadows and forgotten memories. Broken furniture lay scattered about, covered in dust and cobwebs. The air was thick with the scent of decay. And then Lily saw it. A faint light, flickering in the far corner of the basement. A single lantern, casting long dancing shadows on the damp stone walls. It was as if someone, or something, had been down here recently. Lily cautiously approached the lantern, her heart pounding in her chest. The air grew colder as she drew closer, sending a shiver down her spine. The lantern sat on a small, rickety table, its flame flickering erratically, casting grotesque shadows that danced on the walls. Next to the lantern lay a small, leather-bound diary. Its pages were yellowed with age, the ink faded but still legible. Lily reached out a trembling hand and gently picked it up. The leather was cold and slightly damp to the touch, sending another shiver down her spine. As Lily opened the diary, a gust of wind slammed the basement door shut with a deafening boom. Lily jumped, her heart racing. She was trapped. The single lantern provided the only light, casting long, eerie shadows that danced across the walls. Panic welled up inside her. Taking a deep breath, Lily forced herself to remain calm. She had to get out of here. She fumbled for her phone, but it was dead. Of course, there was no signal down here anyway. She was alone, trapped in the dark with whatever or whoever had left this diary behind. The diary belonged to a woman named Elizabeth, who had lived in the house over a century ago. As Lily read through the faded entries, a tragic story began to unfold. Elizabeth wrote of her loneliness, her isolation in the remote house. She wrote of strange occurrences, whispers in the night, shadows that moved in the periphery of her vision. Elizabeth's entries grew increasingly frantic as the days turned into weeks. She wrote of a growing sense of dread, a feeling that she was being watched, hunted. She described seeing a shadowy figure in the mirrors, a malevolent presence that seemed to feed on her fear. One entry in particular sent chills down Lily's spine. Elizabeth wrote of a horrifying nightmare, a vision of being trapped in the basement surrounded by shadows, her screams echoing unanswered. She wrote of a cold hand reaching out from the darkness, a voice whispering her name, promising her eternal darkness. Lily read on, her heart pounding in her chest. Elizabeth's final entry was filled with terror and despair. She wrote of seeing the shadowy figure standing at the foot of her bed, its eyes glowing with an eerie, malevolent light. Then, silence. The diary ended abruptly, leaving Lily with a sense of unease and a growing dread. As Lily delved deeper into the diary, she uncovered a tale of forbidden love, betrayal, and a jealous rage that culminated in a gruesome murder. Elizabeth, it turned out, had been deeply in love with a young man from the village, but their love was forbidden. Her father, a wealthy and influential man, had arranged for Elizabeth to marry a wealthy older widower. Desperate to be with her true love, Elizabeth planned to elope, but her secret was discovered. Her father, enraged, confronted her in the basement, accusing her of bringing shame upon the family. In a fit of blind rage, Elizabeth's father had struck her down, ending her life and her dreams of happiness. He concealed his crime, burying Elizabeth's body within the walls of the basement itself, her restless spirit forever bound to the house where she had met her untimely end. Lily's blood ran cold as she read the final words scrawled across the aged pages. She realized with a growing horror that she was not alone in the basement. Elizabeth's presence was all around her, palpable, suffocating. The air grew heavy, the darkness closing in. Lily's breath caught in her throat. The lantern flickered, casting grotesque shadows that danced across the walls. The temperature plummeted, a bone-chilling cold seeping into the room. She was no longer alone. She could feel it, a presence, watchful and angry. A low growl echoed through the basement, seemingly emanating from the very walls themselves. Lily's eyes darted around the room, searching the darkness for the source of the sound. Her heart pounded in her chest, a frantic rhythm against her ribs. Then she saw it, a shimmering apparition forming in the darkness near the far wall. Elizabeth. Her once beautiful face was now twisted in a mask of rage and despair, her eyes burning with an eerie, otherworldly light. Her voice, a mournful whisper, cut through Lily like a shard of ice. "You will pay," the apparition hissed, her words echoing through the silent basement. "You will all pay for what you have done." Lily stumbled back, her hand instinctively reaching for the wall to steady herself. She was trapped, caught in a nightmare not her own. Lily's mind raced. She had to escape. She scrambled to her feet, her eyes frantically searching for an escape route. The basement, once a place of forgotten memories, was now a prison, a tomb. The apparition advanced, its form solidifying with each passing moment. Elizabeth's spectral hand, cold and insubstantial, reached out towards Lily, her touch sending a jolt of icy terror through her veins. "You cannot escape," Elizabeth's voice echoed, filled with a chilling emptiness. "This house is mine, and you are trapped here with me, forever." Lily stumbled back, her hand frantically searching for the doorknob. Her fingers brushed against cold, damp wood. The door was gone, sealed shut by some unseen force. Panic surged through her, threatening to overwhelm her. Lily's back hit the cold stone wall, her escape cut off. She was trapped, cornered by a vengeful spirit. Fear, raw and primal, surged through her. But amidst the terror, a spark of defiance ignited. "Elizabeth!" Lily's voice trembled, but she forced herself to speak. "I understand your pain, your anger, but you don't have to do this. Let go of your rage." The apparition hesitated, its form flickering as if caught between worlds. Lily's words seemed to reach through the veil of anger and despair, momentarily holding the spirit at bay. "Peace?" Elizabeth's voice echoed, a hollow whisper filled with centuries of pain. "There is no peace for me, not in this house, not while he remains free." Lily's mind raced. She had to find a way to appease Elizabeth's restless spirit, to right the wrongs of the past and free her from her earthly bonds. But how? Lily's desperate plea seemed to hang in the air, swallowed by the oppressive silence of the basement. The apparition wavered, its form flickering between rage and anguish. The air crackled with unseen energy, the tension thick enough to choke on. Then, with a gut-wrenching shriek that seemed to shake the very foundations of the house, Elizabeth's form lunged forward, vanishing into thin air a hair's breadth from Lily. The lantern sputtered and died, plunging the basement into an impenetrable darkness. Lily was left trembling, alone in the cold, damp darkness. Lily never forgot her encounter with Elizabeth. She fled the house that night, leaving behind the horrors she had uncovered. But the experience left an indelible mark on her soul. She knew with a certainty that chilled her to the bone that Elizabeth's spirit still haunted the house in Silent Hollow, seeking solace, seeking justice, seeking peace. And as the years turned into decades, whispers of the haunted house and the vengeful spirit that resided within its walls continued to echo through the town, a chilling reminder that some wounds, some wrongs, can never be fully healed. The haunting of Lily had ended, but the haunting of Silent Hollow continued. As I delved deeper, I started noticing peculiar details that only fueled my growing sense of unease. Doors would creak open by themselves, the faint whisper in the dead of night making me jump. I'd catch glimpses of something moving out of the corner of my eye, and my cat, once playful and affectionate, now hid under the bed, its eyes wide, fixated on what seemed like thin air. The air was thick with an eerie silence, and I felt a persistent gaze on me, but every time I turned around, there was no one there. Each room seemed to hold a heavy breath, waiting to exhale as soon as I entered. The lights would flicker without reason, and the temperature would drop sharply, chilling me to the bone. It felt as though the house itself was alive, each creak and groan a communication from an unseen entity. I tried to convince myself it was all in my head, a byproduct of stress or a lack of sleep. But then, things escalated further. danced in the periphery of my vision. Not just fleeting, but lingering, watching. My phone would ring at odd hours of the night, and when I answered, the line hummed with a static silence that seemed to whisper secrets in languages lost to time. On one such night, overcome by a sense of dread, I answered the phone to hear a faint, almost inaudible voice utter my name before the line went dead. My nerves frayed, I scoured the house, searching for any rational explanation. Old pipes, faulty electrical wiring, anything. But the findings were inconclusive. The whispers, the chill, the shadows remained unexplained. Desperate for answers, I started researching the history of my home, hoping to find something, anything that might explain what was happening. As I pieced together the jumbled history, the occurrences grew more frequent, more intense, as if stirred by my probing. I tried to shake off the feeling, telling myself it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. But the sense of unease only stronger. I started noticing strange noises at night, like footsteps creaking up the stairs, even though I knew I was alone in the house. And then, there were the strange phone calls. No one would be on the other end, just silence. The hidden camera was just the tip of the iceberg. As I dug deeper, I discovered more cameras, each one revealing a piece of the puzzle. Someone had been manipulating my home, my belongings, and even my cat's behavior. The violation was personal, and I was consumed by a sense of dread that seeped into every pore of my being. My days began to revolve around the pursuit of clues. Every corner of my house seemed to whisper secrets. Each drawer I opened echoed with the silent laughter of the intruder. Mornings were spent reviewing footage, afternoons dedicated to decoding the odd placement and angles of the cameras. The cameras, sophisticated and discreet, were hidden in places I'd never suspect. Behind the frame of portrait, inside the hollow of a book on the shelf, even nestled within the leaves of the potted plant in the living room. I tried to map out the timeline of when each camera must have been installed. It seemed the intruder knew my routine better than I did myself. They had avoided detection with almost supernatural skill. The more I discovered, the more paranoid I became. My own home felt like a stranger, every creak whisper a potential threat. My evenings were no better. I'd sit down trying to piece together the fragments of my violated privacy, but the fear made it hard to focus. The shadows seemed to move, stirred by the faintest breeze of menace, and every light I turned on just cast longer, darker shadows. I enlisted the help of a friend who was more versed in technology. Together, we tried to enhance the video quality, hoping to catch a glimpse of the perpetrator or at least some identifying feature. But it was as if the intruder knew we were getting closer. Each forward was countered by a new obstacle: corrupted files, mysteriously erased data, cameras suddenly going dark. One night I thought I saw a shadow flit across the camera's feed, too quick to be natural. My heart pounded as I replayed the segment, frame by frame, but there was nothing. No proof, just the lingering chill of having seen something, or perhaps the chilling realization that I was being watched at very moment. Doubt began to cloud my mind. Was I imagining things? Was the stress causing me to see danger where there was none? These questions haunted me, gnawing at the edges of my sanity. I became jittery, jumping at the slightest sound, seeing malice in every corner of my now alien home. The strain began to show. Friends remarked on my haggard appearance, the constant edge in my voice, but I couldn't stop. Not until I had answers. Not until I reclaimed the sanctity of my home. I set traps, installed new security measures to regain control. But the intruder was always one step ahead. The cameras would move, the footage would disappear, and I was left with more questions than answers. No matter what I did, the sense of being watched never left. It was like an itch I couldn't scratch. A presence just out of sight. It was like being trapped in a never-ending cycle of fear and paranoia. And then, the most chilling discovery, a small hidden room in my own home, filled with monitors displaying every room, including my bedroom and bathroom. The recordings dated back to before I even moved in, and I felt like I was living in a horror movie with the intruder as the director and I as the main character. Upon entering the dimly lit room, my eyes quickly adjusted to the glow of the screens. Each monitor flickered with life, showcasing different angles of the very house I had come to call home. The realization that someone had been watching me, monitoring my every move, was overwhelming. As I stood there, frozen by the eerie sight, the air around me felt colder, denser. The walls, previously unnoticed in their blandness, now seemed to close in, whispering secrets of the countless hours of surveillance they had witnessed. I turned to the largest screen, which displayed room, captured just moments ago. The couch where I had sat reading earlier seemed sinister, a silent accomplice to my unwelcome observer. My heart pounded as I moved closer to the desk cluttered with various recording devices and stacks of DVDs labeled meticulously by date. The meticulousness of it all was horrifying. Nothing was left to chance. This hidden orchestrator had not only invaded my privacy, but had cataloged it as if it were a precious collection. Fighting the urge to flee, I instead began sifting through the DVDs, each disc a potential key to uncovering the identity of the voyeur. The cryptic message scrawled on the wall, "You'll never be alone," echoed in my mind, its meaning more sinister with each passing second. Who would go to such lengths? Why was I chosen? The mystery deepened with every new layer uncovered. Compelled by a mix of fear and determination, I turned my attention to a small, dusty notebook beneath a stack of recording schedules. The handwriting was cramped, almost indecipherable, yet it bore the unmistakable mark of obsession. Pages were filled with times, dates, and disturbingly detailed observations about my daily routines. As I flipped through the pages, a photograph fell out. It was a picture of me, taken from a distance, unaware and seemingly at peace. The sight of it made my skin crawl. With each piece of evidence, the walls of my supposed sanctuary felt more like the bars of a cage. The invasion had been not just of my home, of my peace of mind. These monitors, these recordings, they had seen it all. My most private moments, my vulnerabilities, they had been laid bare for this unseen spectator's viewing pleasure. I knew then that this wasn't just about surveillance, it was about control. The control over knowing when I would sleep, eat, or shower. And with this realization, the urgency to find answers, to reclaim my life, grew. I needed to understand the extent of this invasion, to uncover the face behind the camera. Was it someone I knew, a neighbor, a stranger, or someone closer to me than I could ever have feared? As I delved deeper into the investigation within my own walls, I installed new locks, invested in surveillance of my own, and reached out to experts who could possibly trace any digital footprints left behind by my watcher. The local police were baffled, promised to do everything in their power to assist. Friends became my lifeline, staying over on nights when the shadows seemed too thick, too intent on swallowing me whole. Yet with each security measure, each supportive friend, the weight of isolation grew heavier. I was trapped in a paradox of seeking solitude from my observer, while simultaneously fearing the loneliness it brought. The more I searched for answers, the more I realized I was in a race against time. Subscribe to my channel for more updates on this chilling story. I'll be sharing more evidence and clues as I uncover them. Together, we can try to unravel the mystery and bring the perpetrator to justice. Don't miss out on the next installment. Subscribe now.